What's up, guys? Gun here. Happy Saturday, September 28, 2019. NFL Week 4 tomorrow. I like to put up a late video each week just to kind of revisit maybe some of the guys that was on Monday, Tuesday, and also just like to talk to you guys. I miss you guys. NBA's coming real soon. We'll have a lot more daily content. Hopefully the live streams will come back. Not sure if we're gonna do the night streams or the afternoon streams yet, but we're still trying to get all that sorted out. But NFL Week 4 is tomorrow. It's a beautiful time of year. Congrats to you guys if your favorite baseball team has clinched a playoff spot. I think the wild card was wrapped up yesterday, Rays and the Athletics, although they still have to fight it out to see who's going to be hosting or on the road for that one. So I love baseball. I love playoff baseball. To me, there's nothing more beautiful than October baseball. It's so powerful. It's so majestic. Every pitch so meaningful. Stadiums come alive. Yankees hosting the Twins October 4th. Man, I can't wait. Oh, I cannot wait. It's gonna be so awesome. So yeah, as you can tell, I'm really hyped up for baseball. I'm also hyped up for NFL Week 4. I figure in this video we'll do some loose thoughts. Some ideas I got on a couple games. Look at the injury report, stuff like that. Just remind you guys in a couple of promotions, a couple of giveaways. First of all, if you guys follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/GundackerSports, or if you subscribe to this channel, we did a Flash Friday sale where we chopped off $5 for every VIP pass. So the week pass went to 20, the 2 weeks pass went to 35. That was a 1 day special. So that was kind of a reward to everyone who supports the stream with the subscription supports the channel with a subscription or follows me on Twitter. If you guys subscribe to this channel, maybe make sure you have that notifications bell turned on with post notifications turned on. YouTube in the past year or so added ability for content creators to post like statuses, so they kind of pull up on your Facebook, on your YouTube main page, so that if a person wanted to engage with his audience a little bit more, you could post a poll or a message or something like that. So if you guys had that turned on, you might have saw the plug for the discounted VIP yesterday. So make sure you do. Also, we're still giving away month passes. Russell, Miller, Rich sponsored 6 of them. We gave 3 away last week. We have 2 active contests up right now. So if you guys are looking for a month pass to get behind the paywall at rundfs.com, get access to the spreadsheets, the rundfs.com VIP Discord, where tonight we will have the candle burn. So if you guys do jump in VIP, when you open up this Discord, you'll see so many text channels like this. You'll see NFL, and then you'll see football voice chat, probably around 7 p.m. Central, maybe 8 p.m. Eastern. You can jump in there, you click football voice chat, you'll see my name going, and you'll probably see 10, 20 other people. You can listen in or turn on a mic and say what's up, man. Join the chat. We'll have some strategy discussion, bounce ideas off of each other as we create our player pool. I will be working on my game notes for each game. You guys may have recognized, or you guys will know the game notes from the week review videos we've been doing every Monday. So if you guys want to kind of see where I'm at on a couple of guys, you'll be able to do so. So tonight we should have most of that done. My player pool up, all that good stuff. So if you want to be part of that, definitely encourage you guys to go to rundfs.com, make an account, try out a week pass, see what's up. But if you guys want to win a pass, maybe you're balling on a budget, we got 2 contests right now. First of all, check the pinned comment below on this video. There will be a link to a DraftKings league featuring a low ball contest. And what low ball is your goal is to score the fewest amount of points possible. You might be thinking, that's easy, Gun. We just play a bunch of third stringers. Well, that's against the rules. The rules are you can leave no more than $300 salary on the table, and you have to play players that are active and expected to play. So you can't play Eli Manning, right? You have to play projected starters, guys that are supposed to play. And yeah, and you can't leave more than $300 salary on the table. Last week, I think the bottom two lineups last week were disqualified for not following the rules. So make sure you follow the rules. And if you are the lowest scoring lineup, you're going to win yourself a month pass at rundfs.com. The other way to win a month pass, go to twitter.com/gundeckersports. Like and retweet my pinned tweet, which is a playlist link to this week's YouTube content. And then that's not it, man. We got another giveaway, $25 PayPal. If you are subscribed to the channel, just make sure you're liking it, thumbs upping each video that we put up, and leave a comment. And usually I ask for a comment related to the video, and for this video, maybe some late thoughts that you have on the slate, some stuff that maybe you were on Monday that you're not so much on now. And then every comment for each video we put up this week will serve as one entry into a $25 PayPal giveaway. We'll do the drawing Monday in the Week 4 review. So much good stuff going on. Lots of giveaways. We love giving back. But I also love the support that you guys give. Such a beautiful community that we've cultivated at rundfs.com. And so many of you guys have supported the site with subscriptions for so long now, and it's truly humbling. So thank you guys. Let's talk about NFL Week 4. First of all, it's a reminder each week. If you get a little scared or a little sick of seeing some sharks in your games or whatever, be sure to shop around the contest lobbies a little bit. Even you don't have to go play obscure fantasy sites to get away from the big guy, or just to have some contests without them. Of course, you guys know every contest on DraftKings that has a less than $25,000 prize pool and a less than $5 buy-in usually does not have the sharks because of a rule DraftKings put on, and there's also 20 entry max. But there's still stuff like the tiers contest. There's a $150K front four tiers contest on DraftKings. I've been playing tiers every week. Basically, they give you 8 groups of players, and in each group, you have to decide who you think just scores the most fantasy points outright, removes salary from the equation, and yeah, I love it. You can do 20 lineups in this thing. It costs you $80. I'll probably be playing it. And of course, they have other tiers contests, and I think they had 6 showdowns for the Sunday slate. So if you guys just want to play a couple of those individual games and go after it, that's cool. FanDuel gets a little funky, a little different. They have the super flex option. You guys want to play 2 quarterbacks? Go at it. I haven't looked at FanDuel lobby today, so I don't know what the price pools are over there. But I encourage you guys to just kind of shop around the lobby, just see where you can get a little bit different, and maybe get a little bit more bang for your buck and a little bit more ROI. I know playing these milli makers are so alluring. The thought of winning $1 million for watching football is awesome. But if you're really looking to turn a profit, there's a lot of medium, low tier contests. There's single entry, stuff like that are probably a little bit more mathematically sound for spinning a big day here. So let's talk about some stuff for NFL Week 4. I usually like to take a moment to absorb, digest, understand injury reports. It's Saturday, so most of these injury reports are going to be pretty settled. There's a couple of true game time decisions, and then we'll talk about a couple thoughts that I have floating around. Maybe each game. I mean, there's a couple games I'm just not going to touch. But Titans at the Falcons. Titans are pretty healthy, all things considered. Only Kevin Panful, the guard, is listed out. So looks like they're going to be at nearly full strength, which is a lot more than a lot of teams can say at this stage of the season. The Falcons, a little bit more banged up. Kenyon Barner listed as out, concussion protocol. Of course, we know Keanu Neal injured. Something I'll say on this game, just kind of like late thoughts and whatnot. Matt Ryan at home has been a fantasy force, and I do think Matt Ryan and Julio Jones like to win millions of dollars when people least expect it. Why is it? Oh, that's the second time it's gone straight to the goalie. But Matt Ryan, Let's go to statmuse.com, look at Matt Ryan's last 10 home starts. And why does it keep going to hockey, man? I don't know what StatMuse is doing here. No one cares about hockey, bro. Matt Ryan, DKP by game log. Last 10 games at home. We'll just pull up. Here we go. Check this out, man. We got a couple 30 bombs here. Matter of fact, look at all but the Baltimore Ravens, which is a tough team, and then the Dallas Cowboys, which is like an end of season throwaway situation. Matt Ryan has a whole lot of 30 pluses. And this is a Titans defense that does a pretty generally good job at holding opposing running backs to medium to bad days. I know they're about league average in yards allowed this season. Last season, they allowed the fewest touchdowns to opposing running backs, which would force the ball in the air a little bit more, which is the better place to attack the Titans. So Matt Ryan versus Julio Jones, Matt Ryan's and Julio Jones could be a really nice contrarian handcuff this week, as so much focus is on guys like Mahomes or the Seahawks or the Redskins Giants game, stuff like that. So just know Matt Ryan's always lurking. Julio Jones has a touchdown in 7 consecutive games. That's a record. It's also the longest touchdown streak since AB last season. So maybe another bit of history coming Julio Jones' way here. So I don't mind some Matt Ryan, Julio Jones connections here. There's plenty of value out there this week to make it happen. From the Titans side, I'll say Keanu Neal being out definitely maybe makes the tight end defense a little bit sloppier. And Delaney Walker, 6 targets his last 3 weeks. $4,800, man. If he's gonna get a suppressed matchup again, a week where tight end seems pretty black and white. A lot of Evan Ingram love, Will Dissly, even some Austin Hooper love. I actually was pretty high on Austin Hooper on Monday. I've kind of backed off a little bit on him because I do think the Titans guard tight end a lot better than I had realized on Monday. But Delaney Walker makes an interesting tournament play. Basically exploring different pivots at 0 hours, something I like to do, and I do think Delaney Walker makes a lot of sense. The Titans, by the way, have allowed just 109 yards receiving to opposing tight ends. They have allowed 3 touchdowns, but kind of expect that to positively regress. So maybe I'm still going to have some Austin Hooper because I do like Matt Ryan here. But Julio Jones kind of intrigues me, and then maybe one of those games where Calvin Ridley breaks out a little bit. So just some thoughts there on that game. Let's move on. Browns at the Ravens. Injuries on the Browns defense pretty notable. A lot of them. We got safeties, Morgan Burnett, Sheldrick Redwine, Denzel Ward, corner, dealing with a hammy. He might miss. This secondary could be really injured, and I think that could open up another strong opportunity for Lamar Jackson. You don't need me to tell you Lamar Jackson is a big-time fantasy play, but I do think Marquise Brown is a guy that let a lot of people down last week. Did I spell his name right? Yeah. And he's 5,800 this week. Last week he had 9 official targets, just 2 catches for 49 yards. There was a lot of misconnects there. He did account for almost 21% of the team's total targets. And he's 3rd in the NFL in air yards. And if you watched last week, like I did in frustration, it felt like 2 or 3 long bomb attempts to Brown that were either slightly overthrown or went through his hands. So that's just going to be a little bit of receiver variance. Not saying he's a lock or anything like that for this slate, but just thinking out loud on some sleepers and tournaments. We were all super stoked to play Marquise Brown last week. At least I was. Speak for yourself, Gunn. At 5,800, if he can go back to having a 30, 20 plus fantasy point game, I certainly believe it's in the range of outcomes, and this matchup is getting softer by the minute. Of course, we'll keep an eye on the Browns inactives and actives on Sunday, but it certainly looks like that secondary could be limping into this game, which would be a super plus for Marquise Brown. Could also be a plus for a guy like Mark Ingram. 3 touchdowns last week. I think he leads the league in red zone carries. I think it was the stat. Been a huge play for them. 2 out of his 3 games have been 25 plus fantasy points. So I definitely don't mind going back to him at 6'6", has 7 AK upside. And of course Lamar Jackson. The flip side there is the Browns, man. Baker Mayfield looking rough to start the season. And we haven't seen one of those explosions from that offense like a lot of people thought they would be able to do. With that said, there are some injuries on this Baltimore Ravens defense that should be pretty notable. Jimmy Smith's going to continue to be out. Brandon Carr not practicing. The Marlon Humphrey questionable. If you can line up Odell against a weak secondary, I mean, it doesn't take Odell much. A lot of people thought Odell would be a bomber here this season. So far, it's been slant routes to the house, kind of like the Eli Manning days, but 9+ targets in each game thus far. So that type of opportunity volume for a stud like Odell at 7,300 could certainly pop off for 25 plus fantasy points. Not a great matchup by any stretch of the imagination. Not going to pretend like it is. And just generally speaking, but the matchup becomes better than perceived if some of these secondary players or players from the secondary on both teams start to miss, and you would likely expect the Browns to be playing from behind. If we go check out the Vegas total on this game, or rather spread, Browns are they really just 1-point dogs? No way. No, 7-point dogs. So they're a touchdown underdogs. So certainly going to be a spot where Baker's probably going to throw it more, and we know he's going to pepper as many opportunities as he can to guys like Odell Beckham. So Odell could be a sleeper wide receiver this week, listed under Keenan, and I still think $300 you got to play Keenan over Odell, but just kind of a tournament spitball there is no one's on him. Patriots at the Bills. We'll look at the injury report here, but there's nothing in this game that I really want. It's a James White baby narrative game. The Patriots likely will be fully healthy. Maybe Julian Edelman, somebody to watch here, but no one that's significant enough for me to be in or out of Patriots or Bills players for my player pool. I typically full fade Patriots as often as possible, unless it's a situation like last week where Edelman pops open as a slot receiver as AB got released. And this week we may not have a healthy Edelman, so I don't want a limited guy against. Hey, the Bills defense not bad. Bills injury report, pretty big DNPs for Friday practice. I think that a lot of that is maintenance. Nothing super significant for an offense that I'm not targeting anyway. I've been a guy that's been all over Josh Allen to start the season. I'm gonna go ahead and not play Josh Allen this week, but that would be hashtag DFS if Josh Allen has his coming out party for the season this week. But I'm probably gonna pass on John Brown versus Gilmore, and I'm probably gonna pass on Josh Allen if the Patriots defense consider Allen the number one weapon here and scheme against him. So not a ton of interest there. Chiefs at the Lions. This game definitely could be a fantasy gold mine. I saw a stat the other day that Patrick Mahomes hasn't hasn't played a game in a dome in the NFL yet for a regular season. And the last dome game he played was for Texas Tech in college, and he threw over 600 yards. So expect Patrick Mahomes to throw over 600 yards here, right? That's how it works. The injury report for the Chiefs, pretty light. Tyreek Hill out. Damian Williams out. LaShawn McCoy was removed from the injury report. He was a full participant in practice. So that's huge news for him. Last week he was a guy I was curious with, and then he was questionable, and then they said he was limping before the game, and he only had 8 carries and 3 targets, but he turned out to be a fine play at 23 fantasy points. I don't know if I force him in because there's so much volatility there, but in like mass entry 150 lineups, I would probably have just a little bit of them. On the flip side, there, Matthew Stafford was on the injury report. It sounds like he's good to go. If we look at this injury report, Darius Slay, the big one, questionable. A lot of people suspect he might be out for this game. I think even if he's in, it's worth noting that so far, top slot receivers, wide receiver ones, have done just fine against the Lions. Larry Fitzgerald, 8 catches, 113 yards, a touchdown. Keenan Allen almost had 100 yards on 8 catches, and Nelson Aguilar donked us into 2 touchdowns on 8 receptions, just 50 yards though. So if Darius Slay is out, I think the matchup is even more pristine. But I certainly wouldn't run from it, even if Slay does play. But if he's in, if he's limited, whatever, go ahead and give me some. Go ahead and give me some Chiefs receivers. Those three guys that I brought up, Larry Fitz, Keenan Allen, Nelson Aguilar, those were all slot guys. And Sammy Watkins, $6,700. 75% of his snaps this season have been in the slot. 8 targets, 13 targets, 11 targets the last couple weeks. Maybe he's a forgotten guy here. I know he's been letting people down, and we all expect him to be, a bomber that scores 60-yard touchdowns. But he can be a possession receiver with some volume, and I think the volume's there. So give me some tournament shares of Sammy Watkins, 100%. I think obviously we're gonna have some Patrick Mahomes in our life for Sunday. How about some Sammy Watkins? I think a lot of people are soured on him, especially the long timers that remember Watkins from his Bills days and how he was very Amari Cooper-esque pre-Cowboys days. I think this is a fine matchup, and if a matchup gets even better in the absence of Darius Slay. On the flip side, Stafford dealing with a hip injury, a little bit spooky, but two things I wanted to bring up. Kerryon Johnson last week saw 75% of team snaps. This is interesting because they let C.J. Anderson go. So likely a sign of encouragement for Kerryon Johnson owners. He saw 20 carries against the Eagles. Eagles, one of the toughest run defenses in the league. So this is a little bit softer matchup. The Chiefs defense, however, game script is a concern for me. Do the Lions play from behind for long? The Chiefs you guys know the Golden State Warriors used to be like a third quarter team. That's when they really take off. We've seen the Chiefs really take off in the second quarter this season. So if Kerryon Johnson at 5,400 can keep in a neutral game script where they can run the ball here. If we saw an opportunity at 20 carries, that'd be awesome. I would love to see a couple more targets going his way for a game like this. But at 5,400, 15 to 20 fantasy points, certainly a viable range of outcome. I do think his day is coming. I don't know if it's here, but it's certainly a matchup we like. This kind of reminds me of the Josh Jacobs Week 2 situation where Jacobs did fine from a yards per carry standpoint, but his team just got game scripted out of running the ball. But we should definitely be cognitive of the fact that without C.J. Anderson, Kerryon saw 75% of snaps last week. Panthers at the Texans. The more and more I think about it, the more and more I kind of like the Panthers defense here. Some of you guys have left some comments on the defense video I put up. The Panthers are 2,300 on DraftKings, so they're one of the cheapest price. 2K being your min price. 13 fantasy points against the Cardinals last week in a really fast-paced game with Kyle Allen steering their ship. Look at this, 127 passing yards allowed, 189, 183. They haven't allowed over 200 passing yards yet. Their rushing yards allowed are a little bit more suspect. But I do think this is a spot that I'm really intrigued by the Panthers defense because their pass rush is legit. They had 8 sacks last week, and if we go to the RunDFS.com VIP spreadsheet, I want to point out that first of all, just to double down on what the Panthers are doing, the Panthers have that's a running back situation. Whoops. The Panthers have allowed the second fewest yards in the league to quarterbacks. And this is a Texans offense that's really, really centered. I know Carlos Hyde's kind of starting to do his thing, but Deshaun Watson, DeAndre Hopkins, they really, 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 really need to move the ball in the air to get things going. Watkins, 351 yards passing last week, 268 in week one. When they're not passing, they're not scoring. 159 yards passing week two against Jacksonville. The team just put up 13 points, which is not going to be great. It'll be fine for the defense. Another thing to note about the Texans is their O-line is getting decimated. Do I have sacks in here? No, I don't think I have sacks here. I'll have to add that after I'm off of recording this. But the Texans O line is not protecting Deshaun Watson at all. He is getting beat up, banged up. Because of that, is fumbling the ball a little bit, and opposing teams are getting to the quarterback. Last week, the Chargers had 2 sacks here. Tunzel has been missing games. If we look at that injury report for the Texans here, let's see. I don't even see. Yeah, Tunzel's right here. Tunzel, full participation. So Tunzel's back. In his debut, he gave up 2 sacks. So I definitely think this Panthers pass rush and their pass defense at that price, it might open up some doors for me here. So I'm jotting them down as one of my favorite value defenses. I still like the Falcons. I mentioned them. The Titans O line is even worse than the Texans. Matter of fact, their sack rate right now is the highest in the NFL. I do think the Falcons defense has got some holes with some injuries. But if they can get to the quarterback like Mariota, I'm still invested in the price there, but definitely at 2,300 for the Panthers. There's such a room for a value floor in sacks, and then if they can keep being a great pass defense like they have been, and maybe stifle DeAndre Hopkins a little bit, I'm in. I'm interested. The other thought on that game to kind of spin around is Christian McCaffrey. I've been going back and forth in the RunDFS.com VIP Discord. It was brought to my attention that McCaffrey only had 4 targets last week, and then if you took out his 76-yard run with the touchdown, is McCaffrey a great play that day? That's a 13-point swing. You take that away, he's barely, he's fighting to get 20 fantasy points. That's kind of resonated with me, and I'm like, maybe Kyle Allen doesn't check down to the running back as much as they want him to. But then I started thinking about this offense and how, they want to scheme against teams like the Texans. So far, the Texans have been roasted by pass-catching running backs. They have given up 24 receptions to the running back position. If we go to defenses versus position here, that's the second most in the NFL behind the Packers. 165 yards receiving to opposing running backs. They faced Alvin Kamara, Leonard Fournette, and Austin Eckler. I know Alvin Kamara and Austin Eckler are pretty world-renowned for pass catching, but how about Leonard Fournette here? Week 2 had 6 targets, 4 catches. So, I mean, the targets were there for him. So, I definitely think this defense would just struggle long-term against pass-catching running backs. So, I'm definitely, thinking of, is there merit to fading McCaffrey at almost 9K? If he gets under 25, is it a good fade? I'm going to be thinking about that a lot today. I would love to know your guys' thoughts on that situation. But certainly, if you take out that 70-yard bomb, start to think that McCaffrey was an average play against the Cardinals last week. And is that variance, or is that just, this is an explosive player that's going to have a bunch of targets? Are we overthinking it? So just some food for thought. Let's move on from that game. Any big injuries here? Nothing that we need to really focus on. Raiders at the Colts. T.Y. Hilton out, which is huge because if we go to the receiving stats and we go to red zone targets inside the 20, T.Y. Hilton had the second most red zone targets inside the 20 with a 43.75% of team market share of red zone looks. And that's huge because he's their guy in the red zone. They want him to score touchdowns. So when he's not on the team, you wonder how they replace that production. If they replace that production, I think against a softer defense like the Raiders, certainly would maybe be worth your time exploring some other receiving options for the Colts here. I think because T.Y. Hilton got injured the first half of that Colts game, pricing was able to prepare for a potential absence for him. Paris Campbell almost 5K, so he's not extreme value or anything like that. Zach Pascal, like none of these guys really make you feel warm and fuzzy. I think the guy that we should be focused on here is Marlon Mack. He's 6,100 on DraftKings. He has 16 carries against Atlanta, 20-25. So I think if we put them in a neutral to favorable game script here, which the Colts, even with T.Y. Hilton out, will probably still finish as favorites here. Let me see if we can find the Colts. The Raiders are 7-point dogs still. So that's still a touchdown spread here, plus, which is still something that we like for running backs, especially home running backs. Give me some Marlon Mack. Last week he played 62% of snaps for the Colts. And he was questionable that game. He had an injury that was luring. It seems like now he's fine. He's not questionable. And the Oakland Raiders defense is not what you want. They're giving up 4.5 yards per carry here. If we go pull up the defensive versus position stat chart here, rushing yards allowed, the Raiders bottom 10, 327 yards to 3 games, a pair of touchdowns. So without T.Y. Hilton, Marlon Mack has an opportunity before him to really, really, really have to step up. So I'll certainly have some Mack here. He's averaging almost 100 yards per game. Of course, week 1 was a big weight on that seesaw, but I like him here. At home, 6,100. Everything makes sense. Give me some Mack. Anything else from this game? I probably don't get down with Jacoby Brissett. Oh, we're running it back, of course, with Darren Waller. I think this is almost a no-brainer, a layup, 5,200. I still like Evan Ingram and Will Dissly quite a bit, but Waller is a guy that's going to essentially put up wide receiver 1 targets, and the target share is not going to go anywhere, especially if he is a 7-point road dog. Derek Carr is going to look to throw the ball a little bit more. Colts so far against tight end position. Anything spectacular that we did note? Colts. Looks like they're bottom half in the league, a pair of touchdowns, and a 78.3% catch rate. So not the worst in the league, but it's definitely top or bottom 10 in the league in catch rate. So a lot of targets, a high catch rate. Touchdown underdog. Definitely think a great correlation for this game is to run Marlon Mack versus Darren Waller in some lineups, and I'll certainly be doing that. Next game, Chargers at the Dolphins. This game got a little wonky for us. I'll tell you what, on Thursday, I read some fun facts about Justin Jackson as a play. Like, I was starting to, and it wasn't because of what Tony Pollard did last week, but it's because last couple games, he's had a decent amount of targets and carries, almost 10, and he's had 2 touchdowns called back. So at 4,100, I was like, man, maybe this game becomes a blowout, and he does get 15 carries. And I was like, all right, I'll play some Justin Jackson. Then the next day, he's in a walking boot, and he's out. And not only does that shake things up because we're all over some Austin Eckler, but Melvin Gordon, who was doing his holdout, returned to his team this week. And the thought was that he wouldn't play Sunday against the Dolphins. That he would come back next week. But I don't know that he's been ruled out yet. If we go look at the injury report, he's not listed on the injury report. And when the Chargers tweeted their in and outs, they didn't mention Melvin Gordon. So there is some concern in the back of my mind, and I think we're all on the same page here that maybe Melvin Gordon suits up for this game. With that said, Tremaine Pope is available to take some snaps here. I still want to believe that Melvin Gordon is not a factor in this game. It doesn't seem like a hugely positive idea for this guy to walk into the team and then have to play a whole lot in his first week, especially in a throwaway team or game like the Dolphins. So still going to be all over some Austin Eckler until further notice, but certainly was a monkey wrench thrown into the operation here. And it's not even like we get a discount on Melvin Gordon if he did suit up to take a tournament stab on, right? Both these guys are almost 8K. So if you guys are still on the Eckler train, let me know. I think right now I'm still on the Eckler train until further notice. Obviously, nothing's changed for my love for Keenan Allen. Still going to load up on him. And no Dolphins. Right? I don't think we need to get to Dolphins. Preston Williams, interesting, but no Dolphins. Redskins at the Giants. This could be one of the biggest fantasy games of the week. I've had so many thoughts and range of outcomes and game scripts for this one run through my head. And plus fantasy ideas in terms of ownerships and players here. So first of all, let's talk about Terry McLaurin. Hamstring, did not practice on Friday, listed as questionable. Hamstring is a pretty important injury for a speedster receiver. McLaurin is primed to be one of the highest owned players on the slate, if not the highest, 4,500. It's a super low tag. So just if you take out injury from the equation, you're just wondering what the range of outcomes at 4,500 that he doesn't excel at this price point. The last 2 weeks, he's kind of had some late, quote-unquote, bailout touchdowns against the Bears, against the Cowboys, and then in week 1, he really put on the burners and went off on the Eagles. Nonetheless, he's become a, hey, I'm here type guy, and we're all excited to play him. I'm excited to play him. But from a game theory standpoint and a range of outcome standpoint, is this hamstring injury a little bit more than we like? Should we be more concerned about this? Everything suggests that he's going to be able to play, should be able to play. But just from a GPP standpoint, what are the pivots here? Terry McLaurin's not the only receiver here. And if we go look at snap counts and what have you, did I put this game in the spreadsheet just yet? Not yet. I'll tell you what, I'll type it up here. By the way, the new index portal for the spreadsheet, it's going to be kind of like baseball. So if I got a wide receiver, we'll type in Terry McLaurin, Paul Richardson, and Trey Quinn. These are the three main receivers for the Redskins. How about some Paul Richardson or Trey Quinn? I'm interested in these guys as plausible pivots. Like, I'm still going to have some McLaurin, but just for big field tournaments, there's certainly a range of outcomes where Paul Richardson at 3,700 could score the same, if not more, as Terry McLaurin. 9 targets last week against the Bears, 22 fantasy points, had 7 targets in week 1. Not so much or as many targets in week 2 against the Cowboys, but still had a touchdown. So this guy's 3,700 right in front of our faces. Should be a fine play against this Giants defense. And then the other guy is Trey Quinn. This is the one I'm waiting to pop off. This guy's looking like a Cole Beasley. Not because he's white, but because he plays so much in the slot. 78% of his snaps so far have been in the slot. And he's getting targets. 6 targets. Catch rate's a little lower than I want it to be for a slot receiver, and his average yards per catch really, really low. But at 3K, could he fall in the end zone? I definitely think that could be coming. So I definitely think some pivots to Terry McLaurin there, and maybe even not just pivots, but just plays that we should be cognizant of. These guys are in fine spots against this Giants defense. The Quarterback situation for the Redskins could get really, really weird. Case Keenum was a full participant in practice on Friday, so I'm still going to have some Case Keenum shares here. I think 4,900, a sub 5K quarterback against the Giants defense is certainly in play. Keenum playing for his job, good handcuff to the McLaurin shares and whatnot. And then on the flip side here, I'm in love with Sterling Shepard. I'm in love with Evan Ingram. I'm not going to repeat everything I said from the Monday videos, or I'm sure you guys have heard it from everywhere by now. And then of course Chase Daniels. I think the debate here is the running back situation. Wayne Gallman. People are running to play Wayne Gallman here. 4,600, depressed price, potential value spot. But I'm not as stoked to play Wayne Gallman as everyone else is. I'm not saying he's an easy fade by any stretch, but I certainly think he's not what people like. People are expecting some Saquon Barkley production, right? Or some I don't know if you got 70% of what Saquon did. I don't think that's the case with Wayne Gallman. I do think he can be a pass catcher, but I don't think like he is, and I think we've seen him be in this situation before where he's the starter. I know they've had in the past Arlene's Darkwa and stuff like that to kind of split snaps here, but I don't know if Gallman has tournament winning upside, and that's what I'm most spooked about. So if I was looking at maybe a chop this slate in half or even a showdown situation, how crazy is the other starting running back in this game? Adrian Peterson is cheaper than Wayne Gallman. And so far, he's had very negative game script. Massive underdogs against the Dallas Cowboys. He didn't suit up week one. And, of course, last week, the Chicago Bears, one of the worst defenses to play against. He still averaged 3.1 yards a carry against them. Not good. But, hey, is Adrian Peterson in a spot to where he could surprise some people today at 4,300? The situation for both teams here, the Giants and the Redskins, these are both teams that are constantly playing from behind this season. Could this game be the most neutral opportunity for both teams? Right now, it's a 3-point spread in favor of the Giants. So if you're Jay Gruden, who is on the hot seat playing for his job, do you want to keep your defense off the field as much as possible as they struggle right now? Very possible. And you could think the same with the Giants, right? These are two of the worst defenses in football. I think only the Dolphins might be worst. There's so many range of outcomes in my head. What I'm most scared of is how does this game fail? And I think if I start thinking about opportunities for failure, I start thinking about the running back situation. Does it put up 1,000,000 points like we were all expecting it to? Giants have a implied total of 26 right now. So I think that the volumes and whatnot, there's no way I get off of Evan Ingram or Sterling Shepard. That's just not happening. But I think you could spin the wheel a little bit on the Redskins and start wondering if this game script plays out the way we think it is. We're just expecting a sloppy, fast-paced, no defense type of game. But at the end of the day, it's still a division game. And it's still some players in this game and some coaches in this game playing for their job and wanting to tighten some things up and play a little bit smarter. And I definitely think that Jay Gruden would like to run the ball more than he has if he has the chance to. So could we get a 20 carry game from AP? And I know we're not excited to play Adrian Peterson, but if I told you right now that Adrian Peterson is a 4.3K running back that gets 20 carries on Sunday, do we do it? I think it's possible. With that said, everybody's always on Chris Thompson. I've been a Chris Thompson guy the first couple weeks, but the main reason I like Chris Thompson or have liked Chris Thompson is for the PPR potential and positive game scripts for a PPR running back. And what that means is he's an explosive type of runner. 4.1 yards per carry last week against the Bears, basically on an 11-yard. Being that his longest run was for 11 yards. But this is a guy that they check down to when they're playing from behind. They're playing no huddle. They're playing 2-minute drills, whatnot. Philadelphia, I think we saw 7. I don't know about 7. I think we saw 7 targets on the final drive of the Redskins in that Philly game. I could be a little off on that number, but a lot of that came late. If you're playing Chris Thompson, you're likely banking on him coming through late in the game and maybe playing from behind. I still like him just because he can essentially be a receiver in terms of targets, but it's not like he's specifically lining up in the slot. Trey Quinn's still playing the slot, and I don't know how much we should project the Redskins playing from behind. But that Giants offense did look pretty doggone good last week. So I think the most likely outcome is that the Giants and Redskins score a lot of points, maybe 6-7 touchdowns combined. But I certainly think if you really open the book a little bit, we can start making a couple of arguments that maybe this game doesn't go the way we hope or the way we think. Maybe Daniel Jones isn't going to score 30 plus fantasy points every week, and so on and so forth. So, but for sure, Ingram and Sterling Shepard are going to be some of my highest owned players this week. Redskins get a little bit more iffy, right? Seahawks at the Cardinals. I mean, I'm pretty high on the Seahawks, as I'm sure most of you guys are. Really nothing to see here. Nothing changed from my video on Monday. I love Russell Wilson. I love Will Dissly. I love Tyler Lockett. All of them are going to be in play. All of them are going to be some of my higher owned players. On the Cardinals side, I still want some David Johnson in my lineups. I don't know that I'm running to Kyler Murray yet, but running is the key word here. I'm excited to see this 69 yards rushing last week against the Panthers. This is a dimension of Murray's game that we didn't see there the first 2 weeks, predictably. And I'm excited to see if Murray kind of responds and has a Russell Wilson style game where he's taken off a little bit more. I think if Murray can establish himself as a runner, it's going to open up maybe a couple more RPOs with David Johnson involved, and maybe even some triple options with David Johnson involved. So still on Murray watch, 6K. I don't know that I'm going to miss out a whole lot if I don't load up on him, but certainly give me David Johnson. I'm excited to play him this week. And then Larry Fitzgerald has been super consistent, man. 5,600 for him. He's going to get high targets, 7, 11, 13. Last 3 weeks, got a touchdown in 2 of his home games. He's home again. Is it going to give you something that you can't fade? I don't know. But like I said, the Panthers, when we looked at the defense versus position, the Panthers are the second best pass defense in the league right now. So this could be a spot where maybe we get closer to 100 yards receiving for Larry Fitz versus that 36 yards receiving that we saw last week in a really bad matchup. Moving on. Anything on the injury report we got to make note of? Nothing massive here. Rashad Penny, hamstring. He's questionable, but he did fully participate yesterday. If he plays or if he misses, that certainly juggles some thoughts on Chris Carson. It definitely drove up Chris Carson in ownership last week, and he let a lot of people down. Some fumbleitis. I think nobody will. I don't say nobody. I think the field will be a little bit more hot stovey, touching the hot stove on Chris Carson this week. Could be a formidable bounce back spot. On the Cardinals side, usual DNP, Suggs DNP. Nothing crazy that's shaking my approach up. Bucks at the Rams. Basically, my biggest takeaway from this game is probably Cooper Kupp. He's just going to be such a solid week-to-week play, high target guy with some red zone looks here. We've seen it in the last couple of weeks. 10, 9, 12 targets a game. 100-plus yards in his last 2 games. A pair of touchdowns last week. 6,500. I think we saw that this Buccaneers defense is not what people thought they were through 2 weeks. With Daniel Jones and the Giants doing what they did. His first couple games, the Niners offense hasn't been really clicking on all cylinders, and the Panthers offense on that Thursday night game, that ugly Thursday night game that had rain delays, lightning delays, and an injured Cam Newton, they still gave up over 300 yards passing. I think their secondary, their pass defense is still not going to be something I'm scared of. So if you wanted to take on a shot on Jared Goff, I think you're fine to do so. But Cooper Kupp is basically where my biggest interest is. By the way, Jared Goff, last 10 games at home, 28, 8, 24, 15, 40, 24, 26, 42, 29. So Wide range of outcomes there, but he has been far better from a points per game standpoint at home versus on the road. His home splits are pretty significant thus far. So, but Cooper Kupp's the main guy for me. If you took a shot on Brandon Cooks or Robert Woods to finally show up, I get it. But I likely don't play any of the Bucks receivers. I think Aqib Talib is enough for me to stay away. I think their corners are pretty stout. I think their slot defense has been really good. Rams, by the way, giving up the third fewest passing yards, receiving yards a game. With that said, if they can hold down the aerial attack of the Bucks don't really have much of a run game. They could start getting Jameis Winston in a bind, in a pickle, and the Rams at home defensively, 3,500. Winston can be a turnover-prone guy. The Rams have a pick in each game thus far. 8-point floor so far is pretty solid. I think if they can run one back here, a couple sacks on Winston, get him scrambling, get him making some bad decisions. Definitely think the Rams defense make a lot of sense in all formats for DraftKings this week. Vikings at the Bears should probably be a lower scoring affair. I'm still on the Bears defense. I'm not really going to play any of the Vikings here. If you believe in Dalvin Cook's skill to trump matchup, go for it. Jags at the Broncos, same situation. I guess you can kind of sell me on Leonard Fournette, but yuck. Leonard Fournette, by the way, I don't know if you guys saw this. 66 yards rushing last week against the Titans. His longest carry was 69 yards. Do some quick math there. He ended up with 3 less yards total than his longest rush. He's not getting a lot of yards per carry from behind the line of scrimmage, bro. But the targets are making him super, super viable. And, of course, this Broncos defense may not be as stout as the Titans defense against the run. I know it still feels weird to say that because of how good the Broncos defense has been in the last decade or so. Broncos are top half in the league in yards allowed, just 255 yards through 3 games, but 5 touchdowns to running backs on the ground, and that's certainly worrisome. That leads the league in touchdowns allowed. So Leonard Fournette becomes, a fringe tournament play for me. I think the targets are what's most compelling. You can make your Gardner Minshew references and whatnot. On the Broncos side, Emmanuel Sanders was one of my higher owned players last week, 4,900. So he's back on the south side of 5K. Sounds like he had a quad injury last week, which I did not know about. If he's back in action here, could he go back to 7, 10 plus targets and be that guy that gets 15, 20 fantasy points? Definitely a plausible range of outcomes. Still think the Jags defense is going to be good. However, with Jalen Ramsey likely out, that's a whole fiasco in itself. Certainly makes it viable that Emmanuel Sanders has a decent day. Also, Phillip Lindsay had a great day last week. Phillip Lindsay and Royce Freeman have had similar usage volume in terms of targets and carries. But Lindsay, of course, had the pair of touchdowns last week, and he's been getting targets as well, and he's 5,200, so a little bit cheaper than Fournette. Meanwhile, Royce Freeman, 4,800. Look at his carries and targets, 15 and 5. So I definitely think when you gamble on Lindsay a couple times this year, Freeman's going to be the guy and vice versa. So I tend to stay away from committees type situations, but those are guys that are viable and they're there if you need them. And that's it for the main slate. Cowboys at the Saints. That should be a fun game to watch. Hopefully it shoots out and it's very entertaining. And the showdown should be really fun on that. So these are two teams that have have offenses that are pretty cut and dry. Like, for instance, Thursday night, I didn't love the Eagles. I had Packers game, and I literally said it in the VIP Discord. I was like, I don't want to play this game because I don't want to be tilted when Jordan Howard has 3 touchdowns. And oh my God, he had 3 touchdowns. So wow, how that turned out. Anyway, those are some lasting freestyle thoughts, man. If you guys got any questions or if you guys have some thoughts on your own, leave them in the comments below. I appreciate you guys listening to me ramble. Just basically hit the record button and start talking. Month passes giveaway, twitter.com/GunDeckerSports. Retweet, like the pinned tweet. Play in the pinned comment DraftKings contest below. And otherwise, hey, man, come to RunDFS.com. Get in the candle burn tonight. After baseball lock, about 7, 8 p.m., we'll be in there. I'll be in there working on my game notes, making my player pool. You guys can have access to all of that by going to RunDFS.com, make an account, click in VIP passes, and at least just try out the week pass. We did lower the MVP package yesterday since we're since we're 4 weeks into the season. So $450 will get you the rest of NFL and all of NBA, and then of course the beginning of baseball next year in April. So NBA runs till June. So it's going to be a little bit of double dipping. So still an extremely good value there. Because remember in October the month passes are $100 a month. So you're talking 8 months, kinda. So an $800 value, almost half of that. So lots of good stuff going on, man. I appreciate you guys hanging out, man. I hope you guys absolutely crush it tomorrow for NFL Week 4. Hopefully I'll do well. I'll tell you guys how I do on Monday, and you guys tell me how you do on Twitter, man. I love screenshots. I love you guys that reach out and share your experience for DFS, man. So let's go out there. Let's crush the weekend, and let's win a whole bunch of money. I love you guys. Good luck. God bless. Go win some money.